World Soybean Research Conference in South Africa, we spoke with Emerson Nafziger from Illinois about his research in crop rotation. Emerson is looking at profit returns on corn, soybeans, and wheat rotations, as well as corn on corn and soybeans on soybeans. When I asked what led him to the study, Emerson said he was interested in it because it was something that farmers wouldn't normally experiment with by themselves.
Back in the 90s, I had some sort of inspiration, and I said, well, if we don't start this, we're never going to have it out here for a long enough time. And I think there are real questions. We've sort of locked ourselves in today to a corn-soybean rotation. It's almost all we grow in the corn belt now. Our other crops that we used to grow a lot of, oats and hay and these sorts of things, have sort of gone away. And so we have to learn what it's going to take to make these systems work.
You're at two locations in Illinois where you're doing this research at. You're looking at continuous corn, you're looking at corn, wheat, soybeans, corn, soybeans, wheat. What do your results show?
We're also looking at corn, soybean rotated. Another unusual one is continuous soybeans, which almost nobody does in Illinois, but we thought, well, just because we can, why don't we put that one in as well? Occasionally people have to plant soybeans a second year, and they might say, well, is that going to be a big disaster like we're always told? We've actually found that no, it isn't. Over the 15 years we've been running these, the two locations have looked a little more similar than I thought they would. Continuous corn has certainly averaged less yield than rotated corn. We kind of expected that, but the percentage yield losses in this are larger than we've normally used as our rule of thumb. And I'm a little surprised at that. We tend to remember the good years better than the poor years, but we've had half of the years there, we've taken a pretty good yield hit on continuous corn, and the continuous corn stays in the same plots. And in a really good year, it will yield up with the others, and they'll all yield 225 or 30. So we're kind of surprised to see that, even after some good years, you get a little drought stress or something, and suddenly continuous corn, now under rain-fed conditions, if we could have irrigated them, I really think we'd have pretty much equivalent yields all the time.
What about your price return? You looked at some variable costs and tried to factor that in a little bit. Give me an idea of what that looked like.
Well, it was kind of a crude effort to be an economist, but it's pretty simple to subtract seed costs and fertilizer costs, and we get these out of our farm business records in Illinois, so we didn't just make them up. We generally found that at both locations, the corn-soybean rotation, just 1 year of each, like we've practiced for a long time, it's our most common rotation, and by our reckoning, it looks like it's one of the best ones in terms of return. Now, if you can raise corn without a big yield loss compared to rotated corn, then continuous corn becomes the most profitable because corn does have the highest profit potential today. It's just that if we're going to live with, a 15 or 20% yield loss over years like we saw at the one location, then that really sort of changes the equation and says, should we really do this?
Finally, what about the tillage options that you looked at? Was there any discernible difference there?
Tillage made less difference than we thought it would. I guess what we would say is it's just not very consistent. And I suppose when you think about it, we'd sort of expect that, a good year with good rainfall, crop comes up and does well, never runs out. Tillage doesn't tend to make very much difference. In our conditions, we don't have to do tillage to get good yields. And if you averaged over everything we did, tillage made less difference than we thought it would. And we're comparing sort of conventional tillage with, we're not moldboard plowing, but comparing that with no-till. And if you're not in an erosive soil, it doesn't look like, you're going to save a lot or make a lot more money by doing no-till. Still, I think some people are doing it successfully. It works really well for them. It does cut costs and it cuts time in the field. And people that are making no-till work, I think that's a pretty good option. But it doesn't look in our highly productive soils, it doesn't look like tillage is going to be clearly move us one way or the other on that. I do think that tillage is being maybe just a little bit overdone now. We see people making 2 trips in the fall, and almost every field, I think, in Illinois that was corn has been tilled, and by now, and a lot of them that were soybeans have been tilled. So there doesn't seem to be much slowdown in the producers wanting to go out and till.